everyone, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Nina, and today we're going to be talking about core wounds, which I know can be a difficult and even painful topic to address. So I want to start off today by simply acknowledging that and also letting you know that if this is something you are dealing with, you are not alone. Many people have core wounds, and there is absolutely no shame in that. My goal in this video is to simply provide you with information and support to help you better understand core wounds and to help you start on your own healing journey. It's not meant to be a substitute for therapy, but more of a starting off point to help increase your self-awareness. So let's start out by talking about what a core wound really is. So we can describe it as a deep emotional wound, often formed from suppressed pain and emotions internalized from a significant event, usually in childhood, but not exclusively so. These events can be traumatic experiences such as betrayal, loss, or neglect, or they can be more subtle, such as consistently feeling unloved or unappreciated. They can also be triggered by major life changes. So if we've had significant disruptions such as divorce, relocation, or illness, it can break down feelings of stability and safety, which can also contribute to a core wound. So how do these wounds affect us? Well, core wounds often manifest into negative patterns of thinking and behavior, such as self-criticism, self-sabotage, and difficulty forming healthy relationships. They can also lead to emotional struggles, such as anxiety, depression, and anger. Now, identifying a core wound can be a very complex and very personal journey because it often involves delving into deep-seated emotions and experiences that may have been suppressed or minimized over time. There are, however, many signs and patterns that may help indicate that we are struggling with a core wound. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, and some of these are also indicators of other issues in some cases. But here are some things that we can look for. Having a strong sense of being unlovable or unworthy, experiencing chronic stress or a sense of emptiness, the tendency to be self-critical or perfectionistic, having difficulty trusting others or forming close relationships, the tendency to self-sabotage, be emotionally reactive or make destructive choices, experiencing anxiety, depression, or anger on a regular basis, having persistent negative self-beliefs, and in some cases even experiencing unexplained physical symptoms such as headaches, fatigue, or digestive issues that are not connected to medical issues. The good news is that even though core wounds can be incredibly painful and debilitating, they can also be healed through time, effort, and support. With the help of therapy, self-help strategies, or a combination of both, we can learn to understand our core wound, develop healthy coping mechanisms, and finally break free of the negative patterns that hold us back. So while seeking professional guidance is often highly recommended for addressing core wounds, there are actually several self-healing strategies that have been shown to be highly beneficial and transformative. So let's talk about them. Now, these methods fall under the categories of self-awareness and identification, self-compassion and acceptance, emotional processing and reframing, building resilience and healthy relationships, and creative expression. So let's talk about how we can address each of these. Now, the first category is self-awareness and identification, and there are several things that we can do to help with this. The first thing is journaling. So we can just start dedicating time daily to writing down our thoughts, feelings, and experiences. And this can be highly beneficial because it helps us to start to identify patterns and to gain awareness of our core wounds' impact in our life. Now, another helpful strategy is meditation. So we can learn to practice mindfulness meditation, which is simply a process that allows us to observe our inner world without judgment. And this can be a wonderful part of our daily routine because it helps to increase our self-awareness and to better understand our emotions and our reactions. We can also engage in reflection exercises. So here we can take part in guided visualizations and self-reflection prompts that help us to explore our past experiences and their influence on our current thoughts and behavior. And this awareness is so necessary because it helps us to break free from old patterns and to start to create healthier self-beliefs and habits. Now, the next category is self-compassion and acceptance. And the first technique we can use here is positive affirmations. And this simply involves replacing and reframing our negative self-talk, which I know we're all guilty of, with positive mantras that really affirm our true worth and value and that support our personal growth and development instead of constantly tearing ourselves down. Now, I'm sure you knew that I was going to include the next one, which is self-care practices. Now, we should be doing this anyway, but here we can adopt and prioritize activities that promote taking care of our mental and physical health, such as getting adequate sleep, eating well, exercising, and engaging in relaxation techniques. And I know I say this over and over again, but self-care really is vital. It helps us to reduce stress and anxiety. It increases our self-esteem and our self-efficacy. And it also helps us to take charge of our physical and emotional well-being. And the third thing we can do in this category is to start to practice self-forgiveness. Self-forgiveness is a powerful act of self-compassion. It involves recognizing and accepting our mistakes, taking responsibility for our actions, but also really letting go of negative emotions such as shame, guilt, and self-blame. It's about realizing that we are enough just as we are. And if self-forgiveness is something that you struggle with, I do have an entire playlist on this topic that I will go ahead and link down in the description box below. Now, the next category is emotional processing and reframing. And the first thing we can do here is inner child work. Now, this involves connecting with our inner child through journaling, visualization, or other exercises, and it helps us to really comfort and begin to acknowledge the hurt and the vulnerability that we experienced. And I know this one can seem a little bit strange if we haven't heard of it before or if we've never tried it ourselves, but it can be a very powerful experience and it can be extremely healing. Now, another way to address this is through cognitive behavioral therapy techniques. This is where we learn to identify and challenge negative thought patterns and replace them with more balanced and realistic perspectives. And I have to say here that cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, really is one of the most effective ways to address core wounds and many, many other issues as well. And something else that can be helpful is developing emotional regulation skills. This involves practicing techniques like deep breathing, meditation, and grounding exercises, which can help us to manage our intense emotions and help us to reduce our emotional reactivity. Because when we have a core wound, we are often faced with very overwhelming and intense negative emotions, which can make it very difficult for us to think clearly and to respond rationally. So this is something that really does help with that. Now, the next category focuses on building resilience and healthy relationships, and there are several things that we can do to help here, with the first one being making positive social connections. This just means we need to start to nurture relationships with supportive and understanding people who really encourage our growth and our well-being, and start to walk away from the people in our life that are toxic and that really prevent us from healing and from moving forward. And another thing we can do here is to work on becoming more assertive. If we can learn to communicate our needs more effectively and set healthy boundaries in our relationships, we are going to feel a lot more empowered. And becoming more assertive can be incredibly beneficial for healing core wounds, especially those that were formed in childhood or in situations where we felt powerless or unheard. Now, something else that's crucial for healing is to work on increasing resilience. This is because it helps us to cope with negative emotions, to overcome challenges, and ultimately to thrive despite our past hurts. And we can do this by cultivating self-awareness through many of the strategies that we've already talked about, like mindfulness and meditation, cultivating self-compassion, and working to forgive ourselves for past mistakes, practicing self-care, and developing healthy coping mechanisms like journaling, exercising, and spending time in nature, or by practicing self-soothing soothing behaviors that bring us comfort. We can also seek out personal growth resources like videos, books, podcasts, and even online courses that address these issues. And the last category is creative expression, and I think this one is a lot more powerful than people give it credit for. So we can engage in activities like art, music, dance, and writing that help us to express our emotions and help us to connect to our inner world in a safe and cathartic way. It also helps us to really get to know our authentic self. And research also shows that when we express ourselves creatively in this way, it also leads to a reduction in stress and anxiety. So again, while this is not an exhaustive list, these are some of the many strategies that have shown to be extremely beneficial for healing core wounds. So it just becomes a matter of figuring out which strategies are the most effective for us personally. And keep in mind that healing a core wound is a gradual process that requires a lot of patience, dedication, and a lot of self-compassion. So it's crucial that we give ourselves self-love and self-support during this time, and that we celebrate our progress. And also that we do seek the help of a mental health professional if it becomes necessary. So as always, I truly hope you found today's video to be helpful and insightful. If you're not yet a subscriber, please go ahead and become one so you have continued support. I want to wish you all the best on your own healing journey, and I will see you very soon.